The things you think about determine the quality of your mind.
No sound, no light, no sensation, no thought. By all medical definition, you are living no more. But for a small and growing number of people, that is not where the story ends. They come back, minutes later, sometimes longer, and when they do, they are not the same person who left, not even close. What happened in those minutes between death and return? What did they see? What did they feel? And most importantly for the Ripple Lab, what does science say actually happens? And what changes in a human being when they return from the edge of existence? The lie. This is our most profound experiment yet. Not one we can run ourselves, but one that thousands of people have already run without choosing to. And what they discovered on their side has permanently changed everything about how they live. Welcome to the Ripple Lab. Today, we go somewhere most people never return from. Before we go further, what are we talking about? Near-death experiences are documented phenomena. A person in Japan and a person in Texas report the same core elements independently. 8 million Americans report near-death experiences. A landmark study found 8% survived. That is nearly 1 in 5 people where the experiment begins. The numbers are larger than you realize. This is a consistent human experience. 1 in 5. This is where the experiment begins. Welcome to the Ripple Lab. Let's understand what is happening. When the heart stops, blood flow ceases. Within seconds, consciousness begins to be lost. The EEG flatlines. Brain cells begin dying. In his AWARE study, Dr. Parnia placed visual targets on high shelves. These targets were invisible from the bed. They could only be seen from above, outside the brain. The results were complex, but the study confirmed experiences patients reported were not hallucinations. They occurred while the patient had no measurable brain activity. A complete explanation. Let's go inside the experience. Not speculation, not fiction. The composite of thousands appear most consistently across the research. Survivors describe floating, watching their own resuscitation session from above, watching family members in the waiting room that their physical position made impossible. What strikes researchers most about these accounts is the emotional quality, almost universal, profound calm, peace, active, present, overwhelming peace.
The second element, the tunnel, move through a passageway toward a source of light. Inevitable, and at the end, the light.
No element is described with more difficulty than the light. Human language does not contain adequate words for what they encountered. They describe a light that knew them completely. The sense of being completely known, completely accepted. Not sad tears, recognition tears. The most painful. Many survivors report that the most painful part was not dying. It was leaving the light to come back. The fourth element, and the one with the most profound behavioral implications, the life review. Survivors describe experience entire life, every moment, every interaction, as if time collapsed, every second present at once. This is the life review. You feel the emotions of every person you affected. They come back, and the world they return to is identical to the one they left. Same room, same body, same relationships, fundamental sense, someone else. Dr. Kenneth Ring spent decades studying the after effects of NDEs and documented what he called the NDE After Effects profile. The second change, a radical, permanent increase in empathy. Having experienced the life review, felt their own impact on others from the other side,
They feel other people's pain and joy more acutely. They listen more carefully. They judge less. They forgive more easily.
Dr. Pim van Lommel's longitudinal study followed NDE survivors for 8 years. They showed significant empathy and significantly reduced interest in material. Almost universally, survivors return with a dramatically reduced interest in money. But because something they experienced meanings, consistently, nothing else made sense. The fourth change, with a certainty that defies articulation, that they are here for something, in a quiet, clear, undeniable way. Dr. Bruce Grayson at the University of Virginia, who has studied NDEs for over 40 years, describes this as perhaps the most consistent and most difficult to explain after effect.
The fifth change, and perhaps the most quietly profound, an overwhelming appreciation for the small details of ordinary life.
Survivors describe returning to a world that physically looks, more beautiful than the one they left. Colors more vivid, sounds more rich. Not because the world changed, because they did. Every ordinary moment suddenly precious. They had learned what actually matters, and it was never what they thought.
The neurotransmitter DMT is naturally produced in the brain. It generates profound mystical experiences. Researchers have documented DMT experiences.
The Ripple Lab does not ask you to believe anything. We ask you to look at evidence. So let's look at what the skeptics say, because they make important points. They make points.
These are serious, credible, scientifically grounded explanations. And they may be correct. Science operates at the unknown, and intellectual honesty requires acknowledging that we do not yet have definitive answers.
But here is what no explanation accounts for. The only answers of survivors. The only answer is that we don't fully know. Perhaps the important thing is not in itself.
And now, the part of the experiment that belongs to all of us. Because here is what the Ripple Lab finds most compelling about near-death experiences.
What did they learn? What did the life review reveal? That extraordinary panoramic examination of an entire human existence? How you made people feel is everything. Not what you achieved, not what you accumulated. How did they feel after they encountered you? Did they feel seen? Did they feel valued? Moments of genuine love are what truly carry weight. Treat love as your primary currency. It is the only thing that actually counts.
What is on your someday list? You have been postponing things. Move them to your today list. That belongs on your today list. Do it right now.
Perhaps the most surprising consistent report from NDE experiences. The ordinary Tuesday afternoon mark of moons. The ordinary moments were along. You already know what matters. The knowledge was always there. Strip away everything else and live what is true.
Here is what thousands of people who briefly left this world and returned want you to know. How you make others feel is the only currency. Love is the only thing that transfers. You already know.
You don't have to die to learn what the who died learned. You just have to be willing to ask the question they were. You get to choose what to do with the answer while you still have time. What would today look like if you lived it as if it mattered? What would your next conversation look like if you felt the other person's experience of you? What would your life look like? This has been the Ripple Lab. One choice. Infinite ripples. Make it count.